Hello, Jai Swaminarayan. Today we are reading from the Vachanamrut, specifically Sārangpur 12, and this passage is titled Thinking About the Ātmā, the True Self. On Bhadarva Sudhi the 1st, Samvat 1877, which is equivalent to the 8th of September 1820, Swami Sri Sahajanandji Maharaj was sitting on a large decorated cot on the veranda outside the north-facing rooms of Jiva Kachor's Darbar in Sārangpur. Apologies for the plane passing overhead. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, an assembly of munis, scholars, as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. Thereupon, Nirvigharanand Swami asked a question. Which virtues constantly remain in a sadhu, in a dedicated spiritual seeker, a monk? And which virtues come and go? Sriji Maharaj replied, first, there is Ātmā realization, true realization of the self. Second, Swadharma, a deep kind of righteousness. And third, faith in God. These three virtues constantly remain in the sadhu, whereas other virtues may come and may go. Thus, while other virtues may come and go, these three virtues always remain. Thereafter, Muktanand Swami asked, why is it that even after understanding the distinction between the body and the Ātmā, one forgets that distinction and continues to identify oneself with the body? Sriji Maharaj explained, once a person has clearly understood the distinction between the body and Ātmā, it cannot be forgotten. Even if they believe, I am the body, they can no longer accept themselves as the body. Also, once they have firmly established the conviction of God, even if they try to discard it, it cannot be discarded. Furthermore, the notion that their realization of themselves as Ātmā has been lost and the belief that they are the body has begun to prevail is simply a misconception of their mind. The belief never actually returns. Such a devotee with perfect jnana, perfect knowledge, wisdom, is conscious only of their Ātmā, their true self. Also, they believe their Ātmā to be Brahmarup, to be a form of the divine. And that Purushottam Bhagwan, the highest divine personality, also known as Parabrahman, the highest realization of the ultimate reality, forever resides in that Brahmarup Ātmā. Also, their conviction of God remains forever steady. Then, Swayam Prakashanand Swami asked, how should one think of one's Ātmā? Sriji Maharaj replied, when the drashta, in other words, the Jivatma, the individual self or soul, focuses on the antahkaran, the whole mind, it becomes oblivious to the outer, physical body, and all of the vishais, the objects of experiences related to it. Then, with the thought that rests between the antahkaran and the drashta, one should realize the nature of the man, the mind, the buddhi, the intellect, the chit, the substantial consciousness, and the ahankar, the ego. Then, observing the various thoughts within the antahkaran through such a thought process, only when those thoughts cease should one meditate on God's form. However, as long as those thoughts and desires persist, one should keep observing them, but one should not engage in meditation at that time. In addition, when the 5 Gyanendriyas, these are the 5 organs of perception, of the outer physical body, are drawn towards their respective vishayas, the experiences of the senses, the sense objects, one should think in 2 ways. Firstly, one should think about the vishaya towards which the indriyas have been drawn. Secondly, one should think about the drashta who watches from the indriyas' organs. Then, when the former thought of the vishaya and the latter thought of the drashta merge into one, one's vritti becomes completely detached from the vishayas. However, if one does not think in this way and attempts to break one's vritti, their thought force, from the vishayas, the experiences of the senses forcefully, then the vritti's attraction towards the vishayas will not be eradicated. On the other hand, if one withdraws one's vritti by applying this thought process, one's vritti will never again become attached to the vishayas. Therefore, as long as one's indriyas, vrittis, the thought force of their sense organs, have affection for the vishayas, the sense objects, one should avoid meditating on God. Only when the indriyas vrittis become stable should one engage in the meditation of God. Also, when the drashta is active in the outer sthul, physical body, one should be absolutely clear in making the distinction that when one is active in the sthul body, one should never look towards the desires arising in the sukshma body, which is the subtle body. And when one is active in the antahkaran, the whole mind, one should become oblivious of one's sthul body. Moreover, using the thought which rests between the drashta and the drashya, this is the seer and the seen, one should realize the drashta and the drashya are absolutely distinct. With this understanding, one should ascribe the attributes of the body unto the body, and the attributes of drashta, which is chaitanya, awareness, unto chaitanya. Also, childhood, youth, old age, stoutness, thinness, birth, and death are all aspects of the body, so they should never be thought of as belonging to the Ātmā. On the other hand, being uncuttable, being impierceable, not aging, being immortal, being the embodiment of jnana, of knowing wisdom, being the embodiment of bliss, and being characterized by eternal existence, are all aspects of the Ātmā, the true self. They should in no way be considered to belong to the body. Instead, those attributes should be understood to belong to the Ātmā. Such thoughts should not be abandoned as long as desires and thoughts persist in the antahkaran. Take the example of a king. As long as he is confronted by an enemy, he cannot preside on his throne in peace, nor does he indulge in any pleasures. Only when all of his enemies are conquered does he enjoy the luxuries of his kingdom. Similarly, a devotee of God should firmly keep the aforementioned thought as long as the enemies, in the form of their mind and indriyas, their senses, continue to trouble them. Only when all desires of their mind and indriyas have subsided should they meditate on God. Thank you for listening to Vachanamrut Sārangpur 12. Thinking about the Ātmā. I hope you enjoyed that passage. Jai Swaminarayan.